On a peaceful day at the small diner in Riverstone, no one could imagine that this tranquility would be shattered by an unexpected event. The little diner is located in the heart of the small town, with old wooden tables, faded leather chairs, and paintings on the walls that tell stories of days gone by. The soft morning light filters through the windows, reflecting off the wooden table where James, a quiet man, sits enjoying his breakfast. James Johnson, a former soldier, is a simple and strong man. After leaving the military, he chose to live a modest life in the small town of Riverstone. His house is on the outskirts, away from the noise of the city, where he can enjoy quiet moments after years of fighting. A cup of black coffee, a slice of toast, and a book are all he needs to start his day. James' time passes in silence. He enjoys sitting in the corner of the diner, where no one bothers him. Occasionally, a few old friends from the town stop by to chat, but no one really knows much about him. James is a man of silence, always keeping the secrets of his past, which few know. His life has been built on endurance and resilience. And at that moment, he thought everything would always be the same. A peaceful life, with nothing changing. However, a loud noise suddenly erupts when the diner door swings open. A group of bikers, with tough and intimidating appearances, walks into the diner. Their footsteps echo in the quiet space, bringing a sense of tension and danger. They laugh loudly, tease the patrons, and immediately make the atmosphere heavy. James watches them from the corner, unbothered, but in his eyes, a slight change has occurred. He is not easily disturbed, but deep down, the years of fighting are still vivid, and the arrival of this biker gang makes it impossible for him to ignore. They begin to harass the other customers in the diner, laughing crudely, making everyone uncomfortable. James realizes that these bikers are not people he can easily overlook. He puts his coffee cup down, and as if already calculating, James begins to observe carefully. Throughout his time in battle, he learned that every situation could change in an instant. Right now, James realizes something important. These bikers are not just here to cause trouble. They want to challenge power and respect in this town, and he, the veteran, will not let that happen. The disruption caused by this biker gang is a sign of an impending war. A war not only between James and these men, but also a battle for honor, respect, and the values he has spent his life building. Starting from an ordinary day, but because of this confrontation will change James' life forever. The noise from the biker gang grows louder, making the atmosphere in the diner tense. James remains seated at his table, but his eyes do not leave the group. Each crude remark, each meaningless laugh feels like a dagger piercing his heart. He has faced war, death, but has never felt anger like he does now. Throughout his life, James has lived alone. After leaving the military, he decided to build a separate life, away from the noisy outside world. His small house in the woods, the quiet days that pass by, are what James chose to heal the wounds in his heart. He didn't want anyone to disturb him, didn't want to face the past or complicated relationships. But today, everything is different. These bikers are not only here to cause trouble, but they also remind him of painful memories. The days in the military taught James many things, one of which was to remain calm in all situations. But when he hears the insults, James' patience begins to crack. He knows he cannot sit idly by and let these thugs ruin the peaceful atmosphere of the town. But what worries James the most is the price he will have to pay if he stands up. In his years of fighting, James lost many friends, people he considered family. Each passing day is a continuous battle with the psychological scars he carries. But today, these bikers have resurrected old memories about the battlefield, the decisions he had to make, the people who are now gone. Although he doesn't want to make a scene, James knows he can't just sit and watch. The images of the soldiers who sacrificed their lives in battle still haunt him. And now, he must ask himself whether he can stand up, protect himself and those around him, or remain silent as he has in the past. As James is pondering, one of the bikers in the group, Tank, suddenly walks up to his table. Tank is the leader of the group, with a rough demeanor and a fiery temper. He looks at James with a challenging gaze, as if he sees him as a weak man incapable of resistance. "Hey, old man, sitting here alone? No one to protect you?" Tank mocks, his laughter echoing through the quiet diner. The others in the group laugh along, and immediately, the atmosphere becomes even more oppressive. James doesn't rush to respond. He just looks at Tank, his eyes bright with determination. James' life has never been easy, and he knows when it's time to stand up. Tank is not some street thug James has never encountered. He is a man with no respect who has chosen the wrong person to mess with. Tank continues, his voice growing more challenging. "What's up, old man? Want to fight? Or do you just sit there drinking coffee, not knowing what to do?" Each word feels like salt in an open wound, and James feels a fire stirring within him. This isn't a battle of strength. It's a battle of respect. James stands up, calmly but firmly, walking toward Tank. "I'm not here to start trouble," James says, his voice low and serious, but in his gaze, there is an unwavering determination. "But if you want to try, I'm ready." A strange silence falls over the diner. Everyone in the diner stops, staring at James and Tank. No one dares to speak, because they all understand that not everyone can face James without consequences. Tank didn't expect an old man to be this resilient. He stands there for a moment, his eyes still gleaming with challenge, but in a brief moment, doubt begins to creep into his mind. Is James really a veteran, or just an old man living in the past? But instead of continuing the verbal exchange, Tank sneers and turns to walk away. "Watch out, old man," he says with contempt. "You don't know who you're messing with." James doesn't respond. He turns around, sits back down at his table, and continues enjoying his breakfast. But inside, he knows that this silence is temporary. The battle is not over, and he will have to prepare for what is to come. After the tense encounter at the diner, James returns home in a somewhat uneasy mood. He had taken control of the situation, but the feeling of unease still lingers. His past, the years in the military, is not something that can always be easily shaken off, especially when a group of bikers with a defiant attitude and violent actions are standing at the doorstep of his peaceful life. Upon arriving home, James doesn't immediately enter the house but stops at the door, scanning the surroundings. A strange feeling arises, making him think that maybe today, his life will no longer be as simple as before. The sounds of motorcycles gradually fade away, but in his mind, there's a sense that something is about to happen. The sun is setting, and night begins to fall. James enters the house, locking the door carefully. He checks everything in the house. The gun is ready, the windows are shut tight. Everything is checked over as a habit of a former soldier, always preparing for the worst-case scenario. Only when James sits down in his favorite chair in the living room does he feel the true exhaustion. A long day has passed, and he doesn't know what tomorrow will bring. But inside, there is a rising sense of determination, something he knows he will have to face, even if it's not easy. At this moment, James recalls Tank's words in the diner, "Watch out, old man." That phrase still echoes in his head, like a warning. Tank and his gang of bikers are not the type to give up easily, and James knows that once a battle has started, there won't be an easy end. Night falls, but James cannot sleep. His eyes are wide open, listening to the noises outside, anxious about what might happen. Suddenly, the sound of a car door opening rings out. James jumps up, his eyes lighting up as he recognizes the familiar sound. It is the sound of Marcus Carr, his son, whom James has seldom seen in recent years. Marcus is not a typical young man. He was once a soldier, but his career in the military was short-lived. After leaving the army, Marcus decided to live his life elsewhere, far from home. But James always knew that no matter where Marcus lived, he would always be an important part of his life. And today, Marcus' appearance means more than ever. Marcus enters the house, the light from the living room illuminating his face. James' brow furrows as he sees his son's expression. "What's going on, Marcus?" James asks, his voice deep but filled with worry. "Dad, the biker gang in Riverstone is closing in on us," Marcus says, his voice firm but betraying his concern. "I saw them on the way here. They don't just want to cause trouble, they're looking to destroy." James looks at his son, his eyes cold but full of determination. "Do you think we'll just let them threaten our family without doing anything?" Marcus nods. "We won't let that happen. You taught me to always protect the family, right?" That was a phrase James had heard since Marcus was a boy, and now those words ring in his ears like an oath. The bond between James and Marcus is not just that of a father and son. It is the bond between warriors, those who have faced war and understand the value of protecting loved ones, protecting what belongs to them. We can't just sit back and let them run wild, James says. If they want to fight, we'll fight. Marcus looks at James with pride. I'll always stand by you. We'll protect the family together. These words are not only a commitment between father and son, but also a declaration of war against the biker gang. And in that moment, James knows that he is not facing these criminals alone. He has his son, who will always stand by him, no matter what they may face. After the conversation with Marcus, James prepares everything necessary to confront the biker gang. He has lived a life full of challenges, but he has never forgotten what he learned from his years of fighting in the military. Every step he takes in life is calculated, every decision thoroughly considered. And today, he is no different. Throughout the night, James and Marcus work together to arrange the necessary items: guns, ammunition, and some simple traps that James learned during his years of combat. James knows that fighting is not just about force, it's also about strategy. He doesn't just want to win. He wants to send a message that these thugs cannot easily invade his life and his family's life. Dad, I've finished preparing everything, Marcus says as he enters the room. Now it's just a matter of seeing what they'll do. James nods, his eyes filled with determination. That's right. We won't let them think they can do whatever they want. They exchange a look full of resolve. It's a moment where they both understand that, no matter what happens, they will face it together. That morning, before the sun fully rises, the sound of the biker gang's motorcycles echoes from afar. It is a sound that cannot be mistaken, the sound of danger. James and Marcus stand ready by the door, prepared to face the coming challenge. James doesn't turn to look at Marcus, but his son can sense the calm and resolute gaze of his father. We're not just going to fight these guys. We're going to teach them a lesson about respect, James says, his voice firm but filled with determination. Marcus nods. Even if we have to use force, we'll protect what's ours. Neither of them says anything more, both ready for the confrontation they know won't be easy. A battle not only of physical strength but also of willpower. Outside, the biker gang begins to appear, the lights from their motorcycles shining into the space like red beams from a battlefield. The bikers, dressed in black with fierce expressions, show no signs of retreat or fear. They approach James' house with confident defiance. The road ahead, once peaceful and uneventful, is now a real battlefield. James and Marcus begin to implement the strategy they prepared. The cans tied around the yard start to rattle as the bikers step into the yard. The sound of empty barrels colliding grabs the attention of the gang. One of the bikers shouts, "What's all this, old man? Don't make a scene." James steps out from the shadows, gun in hand, but he doesn't rush. He remains calm, his eyes sharp, ready to face anyone who dares to confront him. "What are you here for?" James asks, his voice firm but not filled with fear. Tank, the leader of the gang, sneers. "We're here to teach you a lesson about respect. You don't belong here, old man." But James doesn't back down. He has faced many challenges in his life, from brutal battles to dark days. But nothing can make him afraid, especially when it comes to protecting his family. "You can't break me, and you can't break my family," James replies coldly, his voice dripping with resolve and certainty. Neither side is willing to yield. A tense silence fills the air, as if everything has stopped to prepare for the coming attacks. The biker gang didn't give James time to think. They charged at him with fierce force. One biker lunged at James, but Marcus immediately intervened, knocking the biker to the ground with a powerful kick to the chest. James quickly dealt with the second biker, a punch to the face that sent him sprawling. Now, the battle had officially begun. Tank, the leader, charged forward in a fit of rage. But James didn't back down. Just as James had anticipated, this confrontation wasn't just a physical battle. It was a battle of resilience, of determination to protect the most sacred things in life, family and honor. James signaled to Marcus, and together they set up a perfect defensive strategy, preventing the bikers from launching an easy attack. Tank realized that he had been pulled into a fight he couldn't win. The biker gang began to falter as they noticed the seamless coordination between James and Marcus. Tank refused to back down and yelled, "Everyone in here. Let's take them down right now." But as the bikers began to close in, Marcus pulled a steel wire from his pocket and trapped them into a corner of the yard. One motorcycle fell over as a biker charged in. Immediately, another trap was triggered, and the entire gang was cornered. Tank was furious, but now he realized he wasn't facing weak opponents. "What now, old man?" Tank growled, his eyes filled with hatred. James just smiled, his eyes sharp as knives, coldly responding, "This is the result of underestimating others." In the end, after those tense moments, Tank and his gang were forced to retreat, unable to continue their confrontation with James and Marcus. The remaining members of the gang left behind their loot, motorcycles scattered across the yard. The situation had calmed down. James and Marcus stood there, sweat dripping, their bodies sore but filled with pride. They had won, but James knew that life would never be completely peaceful. Tank and his gang had been defeated this time, but James understood that such people never give up, and in his heart, vigilance would never cease. Marcus stood beside James, his eyes filled with pride. "We did the right thing, Dad." James patted Marcus on the shoulder, his gaze softening but still filled with determination. "Thank you, Marcus. You've proven that no matter what, family is always the most important." The battle was over, but the story didn't end there. In the days that followed, James and Marcus worked together to repair what had been damaged. The house wasn't just where they lived. It was a symbol of resilience, of family love and protection. James never stopped teaching Marcus important lessons. Every day, they returned to their normal life, but they always reminded each other of the battle they had fought. And even though greater challenges lay ahead, they knew that as long as they stood together, nothing could stop them. Life wasn't always easy, but for James and Marcus, they had learned that no matter how long or difficult the battle, as long as they had family, they would never fall. James and Marcus' family life continued in peace, but they would always be ready to protect what they cherished. And no matter what challenges lay ahead in the future, they would always fight together, never giving up. As the story ends, James sits by the window, looking into the distance, feeling the trust and strength of family in his heart.